Depending on the game, information can either be hidden or shown to the player for varying degrees of relevance. You could have a case like Kingdom Hearts, where the game tends to say, unleashes an attack. Thanks, I was worried he was going to heal the enemies, whereas things like dodge roll are fairly obvious for their intended purpose. On an unrelated note, Fire Emblem actually does convey information, and has pretty obvious calculations or tells. Damage is attack minus defense, enemies will prioritize doing more damage or not dying, etc. There are a few more obtuse things like weapon rank bonuses or hit or dodge calculations, but most of the time it's fairly innocuous. What I find more interesting is how simple acts are conveyed to the player. As most people won't have mastered the game or even need the more complex mechanics, you can do every single calculation in Fire Emblem out before you even press start, but I don't think that most people play the game like that, or even find it fun. Most people look at that battle forecast, think, huh, that's good, or maybe I shouldn't do that actually. But at the same time, when getting in more technical gameplay, you're going to have to do some calculations so that your unit doesn't die. UI elements are a start, like actually telling you what stats do, or engages UI showing the order of attacks, but I'd like this video to show off battle portraits, something I don't see many people talking about. Before Awakening, the battle forecast simply told you the numbers, which is, well, enough. I mean, I love numbers enough. I was that kid that said math was their favorite subject in high school. Hey, stop putting the darn emoji up. Sometimes I too am lazy or just want the game to tell me if an encounter is bad. That's where battle portraits come in. The mechanic started simple enough in Awakening. Your character has a portrait on the bottom screen, and if your unit gets hurt, they make a pained expression. Simple enough, but if your character gets reduced to below 50% HP, they will have a pained expression even after they're hit. Even if your health is already dangerous, the game is putting another warning sign in your face that you might be at a little bit of a risk of dying. This mechanic would be expanded upon in Fates, adding a happy portrait along with the neutral and bad portraits still being here. However, it is extremely different and has a lot of prerequisites for what it is. What it does is look at the combat forecast and have the unit determine if it hurts them not at all, is alright, or hurts too much, for you and the enemy. There's an absolute ton of edge cases that means I can't summarize it in a single sentence, but if a unit does 0 damage and the other does some amount, they will be happy. Both sides are independent and maybe a combination of different expressions rather than just being good versus bad, for example. Both can be in danger, both can be neutral, one can be happy, one can be neutral, etc. If anyone has exact calculations, send them to me, I guess. If not, I may do a bit of research for it later, but I don't really think the exact specifics matter for this video or normal gameplay. The point is, the game attempts to convey information in a clear and effective way. If your unit is happy, that usually means the attack isn't risky, but if they're pained, that may mean there's a risk. It's a pretty effective solution and doesn't insult the player's intelligence. If you want to completely ignore this, that's completely up to you, and likely even the best course of action in a lot of situations. After all, no pain, no gain. If you aren't fighting enemies and leaving your units at the lowest HP, are you really using them to their fullest potential? Those parts are up to you. This is just a guide to help players at a glance. It's a lot more friendly than a simple UI that just... What am I even looking at? Half the important information is gone, what? Now that I've said that, I want to add a few more side notes to get more in depth about this. First of all, this mechanic returns exactly as it is in Fates in Echoes. There might be some differences, like I know the magic costing health is weird with it, but otherwise the same to my knowledge. Past that, 3 Houses didn't do anything with this because of course it didn't, and Engage has a somewhat weird but similar system. Well, not really similar at all actually. Despite using Fates' engine, I think, it doesn't use Fates' robust system. Instead, the only thing that changes is your character looks a little bit worried if they're facing an effective weapon. That's it. Probably. They're perfectly fine if there's a 100% chance to die, but not an effective weapon. Alright. I also think the portraits convey less emotion, but that's for another discussion. Another note is that in the Fates portraits, they don't care about accuracy at all, except in one single situation. If an attack would kill but is less than 81% accuracy, yes, not 80%, even 80 is considered the end of being unreliable, I guess. The attacker will act like the opponent will damage them. I like this since it's very realistic for how luck can often go in these games. It also means the characters act like the attacks will always hit them even if it's a 0% chance. While I don't agree with 0% being able to hit because that's obviously not possible, it might show that they don't want people to rely on dodge tanking, because it's going to bite you one day, which I like. Onto something I really don't like about this system, it has to do with monsters, notably Risen and Faceless, other generics without a clear face, and all Valids for some reason. All of these enemies have no differences in portraits no matter what. It will always be their neutral portrait. This is a huge blow to clarity, as while it makes some thematic sense, it only hampers knowing at a glance what the game is trying to tell you. I'd be fine if it was just consistent with the rest of the game, as it sometimes gets me when I realize, oh, they are guaranteed to die, they just don't care because story funny, I guess. The generics without a clear face like Berserkers, Cavaliers, Dark Knights, Wyverns, and a lot more just don't change while every other enemy does. Just kinda annoying in my opinion. There's also portraits that are barely different, which mostly impact player units, but also automatons. They have a neutral and bad portrait only, and their bad portrait is just barely different. Player units like Odin, Ryoma, and Arthur have very minimal differences between some of their portraits, meaning it's hard to tell them apart sometimes. There's also probably some child units that have this happen. I don't know, I don't really use them. Either way, it's a small annoyance that comes up that I wish could have been ironed out. There's other ones that seem to be not smiling or smiling in their neutral portrait, but I think that's fine enough to show differences between characters. All of the nitpicks also have valid reasons to be the way they are, I just don't care because it negatively impacts game flow for me. Anyhow, I think this is a pretty good solution to information overload that can happen in Fire Emblem. It's an elegant and effective solution that doesn't belittle the player or scream at them that they're playing the game wrong. Just informs them of a potential risk like the exclamation marks for killer or effective weapons. I think more solutions like this to get information across to the player are always welcome. As I'm writing this, I'm reminded of the arrows in 3 houses and engage, and now I want to think about those more. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you have any thoughts about this or other systems to convey information in Fire Emblem, the comment section is your sandbox. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.